as one having authority and not as the scribes. So it's a lot to unpack in that scripture right there. He taught as uh, them as one having authority and not as the scribes. So the first part is saying he taught as having authority. So your wife has to know, you know, that you have the authority given from the Most High to teach her in the first place. How does she know that? By the way you carry yourself, by the way you keep the commandments, by your speech. Because remember, our speech should be given as grace and given as truth. Let God be true and every man a liar, right? So our words should equate to that of the scriptures. You feel what I'm saying? Also, how does she know that you're being given authority by the Most High? Because she sees your fruits. You know what I'm saying? She sees your discipline. She sees your work. She sees your labor. She sees your constant, you know, battles that you go through every day, and she's seeing how you overcome them. She's seeing how, you know, how you stay focused. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just different things that, you know, show her that you have authority to teach these scriptures, to lead the family and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to keep in mind that Christ had to go through the same thing when he was dealing with the church. Like it say, as Christ loved the church, husband loves your wives, and deal with your wives with knowledge as Christ did with the church. So, you know, just keeping that authority aspect of it. You know, Christ, you know, like I said in one video, he, you know, he laughed sometimes, he joked around sometimes he got smart with the scribes and Pharisees, and sometimes he was very serious, just like when he flipped over the table, you know what I'm saying? And it's nothing wrong with that as long as, you know, you do it out of passion for the Most High, you know, out of, you know, just strictly just shooing away all manners of wickedness, you know what I'm saying, when it arrives. And that's the authority that you have been given and shown to her, that, you know what I'm saying, you are the leader of the house, you are the head of, you know, the marriage and everything like that. So the second part that says, and not as the scribes, he taught as having authority and not as the scribes. So let's unpack the second part. Not as the scribes, meaning what? The scribes, like Christ said, the scribes, let me just see it, other script. But let me just break it down real quick before I get the scripture. So, but not as the scribes. The scribes, as we know, they were do as I say, not as I do type of people, right? Uh, they knew the law, but did they uphold the law? No, they didn't. You know what I'm saying? And they also didn't believe in the prophecies that were foretold. They knew a lot of the prophecies, but they didn't believe in them. You know what I'm saying? Just like they didn't understand the whole idea of the Sabbath day. They didn't understand the whole idea of healing, you know what I'm saying, or working on the Sabbath. It's a lot that the scribes didn't know. Their understanding was very basic. You know what I'm saying? But they knew a lot because they were doctors of the law, but they had no real experience type of wisdom when it came to dealing with the laws. You see what I'm saying? That's why Christ said, you know, he taught as having authority, but not as the scribes, not the same way the scribes did. The scribes did things for pay, for position, for power, you know what I'm saying, for acknowledgement, and Christ didn't come for that. He came for none of that. He wanted to literally just save people. He came for the lost sheep. He literally says that he came for the lost sheep. You feel what I'm saying? That's all he came to do, was to teach. That's it. That's it, for no reward. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a scripture like that that says, we do this for no reward, or we do this, you know, for you know, there's no payment in this. You feel what I'm saying? Other than the fact that you get everlasting life. But yeah, so I wanted to go to that scripture that I was going to show where Christ said, where he basically was like, do as they say, not as they do. So Matthew 23:3. Yeah. Matthew 23:3. Matthew 23:3. All therefore, whatsoever they bid you, observe. This is Christ speaking. That observe and do, but do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. They telling